Guys, this girl's father racks up a brutal mafia debt, gets cornered at gunpoint, and the only way out is insane. His 23-year-old daughter gets handed over to the most dangerous crime lord in the city. Adrian Moretti thinks he just solved a business problem with one forced wedding, but what he really did was pull a live grenade into his own house, because the more he treats Lena like property, the more the whole empire starts cracking from the inside out. And just when everyone thinks she is the weakest person in the room, one betrayal, one hidden enemy, and one savage confession flips the entire story on its head.
The night Lena Ward's life ended, she was wearing secondhand clothes, paying for her dad's massive screw-up. Nobody asked if she wanted to marry the city's top bogeyman. They just laid out the options. Her dad dies, her mom loses everything, and their family name is toast forever. So at 23, ugly crying her makeup off over some contract she couldn't even read, Lena became Mrs. Adrian Moretti. She was now owned by a dude who saw her as a done deal before she even walked into the room. Stick around to see how this dumpster fire ends. Smash that like button and drop your city below so I know where this story is reaching. The whole apartment reeked of fear and old metal. Lena was practically glued to the kitchen wall, gripping the counter for dear life. In the living room, her dad was on his knees, tied up with two suits towering over him, just waiting for the green light to end him. "Please," her dad begged, his voice cracking. "Just one more week. I swear I'll get the cash." The tall one with a gnarly scar just clocks him. The smack echoed through the tiny apartment like a gunshot, and Lena flinched. Her mom was crying somewhere behind her, but Lena couldn't look away from the train wreck. Lena's brain was totally short-circuiting. "Another week?" Scarface let out a chilling laugh. "You've had 6 months, Ward. 6 months of squat. Mr. Volkov is officially done waiting." "I'll get it," her dad coughed up, blood on his lip. "I swear." "You'll get Jack," the other guy said, his voice completely deadpan, like he was ordering takeout. Then the guy pulls a pistol, and that terrifying click-clack of him loading it sends ice through Lena's veins. "Your chances are up." "No," her mom screamed. Everything went into slow motion. Lena's body just moved, zero thoughts, and she walked into the living room. "Wait, please!" And boom, all three of them stare right at her. Her dad's face went white. "Lena, get out of here!" "Shut it!" Scarface yanks her dad's head back by the hair and presses the gun to his temple. Well, look what we got here. Is this the daughter?" Lena's heart was about to pound out of her chest. She couldn't breathe. "Please, he's my father." We'll get you the money." "You?" The goon's eyes scanned her up and down, and you could see the gears turning. "What are you, 20, 22? What's a broke girl like you got to offer us?" She had no answer. She was a waitress living paycheck to paycheck, buried in her own debt. She had nothing. She was worthless to these guys, but then an idea sparked. The suit with the gun lowered it just a bit, his eyes sizing her up. "How old?" 23, Lena whispered. "College." She just nodded, afraid to speak. "Record? Drug problems? You crazy?" "What kind of question is that?" her dad yelled, and got pistol whipped for it. "Answer him," the suit said, calm as anything, like this was a twisted job interview. "No," Lena choked out. "No record, no issues. I'm clean." The two guys gave each other that look, a whole chat without saying a word. "How much does he owe?" Scarface asked his buddy. $300K plus interest. Lena's knees nearly gave out. $300,000? Her dad said it was a tiny loan for bills. He straight up lied. "Here's the new plan," the suit announced, putting his gun away. "You're coming with us. Right now. No calls, no goodbyes, no grabbing your purse. You walk out that door, get in the car, and don't even think about looking back." "Where are you taking her?" Her mom sounded like she was about to snap. "None of your business," Scarface shot back, letting her dad go. "You should be thanking us. Your daughter just bought your useless life." "No," her dad croaked, trying to get up. "You can't take her." "You want to see what happens if we don't?" the suit asked, flashing his gun again. "Because I'm happy to finish the job." Dead silence. Lena saw her dad, beaten and begging. She looked at her mom, a total mess of tears. They gave her everything in this tiny place, and her dad gambled it away to monsters. "I'll go," the words just came out. "Lena, no." "I'll go," she said again, this time with pure steel in her voice. Somehow, her voice didn't even shake. "Just leave alone. That's the deal, right? I go. They're safe?" "Smart girl." Scarface smirked, and it was a nasty sight. Real smart. They cut her dad loose. Lena walked to the door on autopilot like her legs weren't hers. This had to be a nightmare. It wasn't real. "Where is she going?" her mom begged again, her voice breaking. The suit stopped at the door. "To Mr. Moretti's place. He's expecting her." That name, Moretti, hit Lena like a ton of bricks. Adrian Moretti. The whole city knew that name. He was the ghost who ran the entire city. A guy whose enemies just disappeared. A name people only whispered. And she was being handed over to him. "No!" her dad lunged. "Please, not him! Anybody else! I'll get the money, I swear." Scarface slammed the door shut, ending the conversation. The ride was a black Mercedes with tinted windows. The inside alone worth more than her parents' apartment. She was stuffed between the two goons, watching her city blur past like a bad dream. Dead silence. Lena tried to memorize the route, looking for any landmark to find her way back. But it was a maze, and she was lost in 10 minutes flat. Once they hit the Rich Guy Hills, she gave up. "What does he want with me?" she finally choked out. Scarface just glanced over. "You'll find out soon enough." "Is he going to kill me?" "If Mr. Moretti wanted you dead, we wouldn't have wasted the gas." Yeah, not reassuring at all. The mansion appeared out of the dark like some haunted castle. Huge iron gates swung open, leading down a long, spooky driveway. The house itself looked like a sleeping beast at the end of the road. 3 floors of dark stone and glass were all lit up, which felt totally wrong right now. The car stopped, and a legit butler in a full getup opened her door. "Miss Ward," he said it like she was an invited guest, not a human bargaining chip. "This way, please." Scarface gave her a shove. "Get going!" Lena stumbled out on shaky legs. The air smelled like pine trees and old money. She followed the butler up massive marble steps and through some seriously heavy doors. The inside was even more insane than the outside. The ceilings were crazy high with crystal chandeliers hanging over priceless art. Lena's cheap sneakers squeaked on the glossy floors, leaving little dirt tracks behind, marking her as an intruder. The butler led her down a winding hall to a massive set of doors. He knocked once, paused, and then swung them open. "Miss Lena Ward," he announced. The study looked like something out of a movie. Dark wood, leather, and books everywhere. And behind a giant desk sat a guy who literally sucked all the oxygen out of the room. Adrian Moretti was younger than she expected. Maybe early 30s. His dark hair was slicked back, and he'd be handsome if his eyes weren't completely dead. He was in a simple white shirt, signing papers like she was just a piece of furniture. "Sit," he ordered, without even looking up. Lena did as she was told. Her hands were shaking like crazy, so she hid them in her lap and forced herself to breathe. Moretti finished up, put his pen down, and finally looked at her. His eyes were stone-cold gray, totally empty. "You're younger than they said," he commented. "I'm 23. I mean, you look it." Then he leaned back, checking her out like she was for sale. "Your dad owes Dmitry Volkov $300,000. You know this?" "I just found out." "Right. Volkov was going to kill him, and he would have if I hadn't offered another option." Moretti slid a folder across the desk. "You're going to marry me." The words didn't even make sense. Lena just stared at the folder, frozen. "What?" "I need a wife for business deals. Volkov needs his money. This solves everything." He tapped the folder. "Open it." Her hands trembling, she did. Inside was a contract, a whole novel of legal jargon that went blurry as panic set in. "I don't get it," she whispered. The deal was spelled out, cold and final. "Marry me, live here, follow my rules. Do that and Daddy is safe and his debt is gone. Refuse and Volkov's goons come back to finish the job." "Understand?" he asked. "You can't do this. This is against the law." "You can't just force someone into a marriage." "I'm not forcing you." Moretti's voice was dead flat, like he couldn't care less. "You can bounce right now, but the second you step outside, your father's protection is gone. Volkov will have him by morning." He let that threat hang in the air. "It's your call." But it wasn't a choice, and they both knew it. "Why me?" Lena asked, hating how weak she sounded. "What do you even need a wife for?" "That is none of your concern." "If I'm going to be your bride, I think I have a right to know." "You have no rights in this place." The temperature in the room just dropped 10 degrees. "Let's get this straight, Miss Ward. This is a business deal. You'll be my wife on paper only. You'll live here, show up at events when I tell you, and for the rest of the time, stay the hell out of my sight. You aren't owed any explanations or a partnership or whatever fairy tale you're cooking up. You're a solution to a problem. Period." Lena felt something inside her just snap. Her eyes darted to the contract, the text a total blur as she searched for an exit that didn't end with her father getting whacked. There wasn't one. "Where do I sign?" she heard a stranger's voice ask. A split-second flicker, surprise, maybe approval, flashed across Moretti's face. He just reached into his desk and slid over a seriously expensive pen. "Page 12. Initial the pages before it." In just 10 minutes, she signed her whole damn life away. Lena's hand was aching when she finished, the pen smudging her fingers like new bruises. After she was done, Moretti snatched the papers, scanning them like a guy who trades souls for a living, then locked it in his desk. "The wedding is tomorrow," he announced. 6 o'clock in the evening. A judge comes here. You'll be given something to wear." "Tomorrow?" Lena's voice cracked. "But my parents—" "Your parents get the news after it's done. You're forbidden to contact them until I give you permission." He stood up, a clear sign that business was over. "Elena will take you to your room. Don't leave it until you're told." "My name is Lena," she corrected, feeling ridiculous. "Not Elena. Just Lena." He stared at her like she was speaking another language. "It's irrelevant. We're finished." The butler then popped up in the doorway like he was waiting for his cue. "This way, miss." Lena got up on numb legs and followed him out. She heard Moretti's chair scrape as he got back to work, already forgetting her and moving on to the next deal. The chamber they gave her was bigger than her entire apartment, with a king-sized bed, a private bath, and a balcony looking over the huge estate. It was a cage, just with nicer furniture. Lena perched on the bed's edge and looked at her hands. The ink stains were like brands on her pale skin. In less than 24 hours, she'd gone from pouring coffee to signing a contract that made her the property of the city's most feared man. She figured she should be crying or screaming or breaking something, but instead a massive void just opened up inside her. A huge, hollow chill settled in her chest, making everything feel distant and unreal. A quiet knock on the door made her jump. "Enter," she called out, the word totally automatic. A woman showed up, maybe mid-30s, her hair in a tight bun, wearing a crisp blouse. She was carrying shopping bags and a garment bag. "I am Mara," the woman said with an Eastern European accent. "I'm here to help you get ready for tomorrow." "Prepare?" Lena repeated, the word feeling hollow. "The wedding." Mara set the bags down and unzipped the biggest one. Inside was a simple, elegant ivory silk dress that had to cost more than Lena's pay for 6 months. "We need to see if it fits." "I don't need to try it on." "Mr. Moretti requires—" "I don't care what he requires." Lena's voice was sharper than she expected. "He bought me. He can be happy with how I look." Mara's face didn't change at all. "It will be less painful if you comply." "Less painful for who?" "For you." A silent power struggle passed between them. Finally, Mara sighed, grabbing a seat by the window, the dress still in her lap. "I know you're scared," she said softly, "and you're angry. You should be. But fighting Mr. Moretti will get you nowhere. It will only make your life harder." "My life is already hard," Lena shot back. "My father sold me to cover his debt. I'm being married off to a total stranger tomorrow. How could it possibly get harder?" "You might be surprised." Mara's voice was full of a tired sadness. "I've been in this house 5 years. I've seen people try to stand up to Mr. Moretti. It doesn't end well." "So what? I should just submit, smile, and pretend it's all good?" "I'm saying you need to pick your battles. Save your strength for fights you might actually win." Mara stood up and placed the dress on the bed. "Wear it or don't, but tomorrow at 6 o'clock you'll be in the main hall. And you will marry him. The rest is just noise." She left without even waiting for a response. Lena was alone again in her gilded prison, the silence closing in. In some other wing of this huge mansion, Adrian Moretti was just living his life, totally unbothered that he had just destroyed someone else's. She looked at the dress, then to the balcony and the 3-story drop to the ground below, and wondered for a second if that was a good enough way out. But the image of her father's desperate, bloody face came roaring back. Her mother's screaming, the feel of steel on his temple. Lena got up and went to the bath, cranked the shower to full blast, and just stood under the water until it ran ice cold, trying to wash off the fear, the city, the memory of hands grabbing her in her own house. When she finally crawled into the cold sheets of the huge bed, there was no rest. She just laid there wide awake, staring into the black, counting down the hours until she'd be Mrs. Adrian Moretti. The wedding was every bit the cold deal she'd pictured. The judge was an old guy who looked like he'd rather be anywhere else, just reading the vows like a legal notice in the empty main hall. Lena was a ghost in the ivory dress. The fact it fit perfectly just made it worse. Mara had turned her into a stranger, her face and hair sculpted for this cold, dead world. Moretti stood beside her in a dark suit, looking like he was at a board meeting, his eyes locked forward as the judge said crap about partnership and love. There was no band, no flowers, no one there to see it except the judge, the groom, the bride, and Mara. "Do you, Adrian Moretti, take this woman to be your wife?" "I do." The words were quick, emotionless, like 2 nails hammered into her coffin. "And do you, Lena Ward, take this man to be your husband?" Lena opened her mouth to speak, but not a single sound came out. Moretti's hand locked on her wrist, not rough, but with total purpose. A warning. Her father's face, pale and bleeding, flooded her mind. The gun. The terror. "I do," she whispered. "Then by the power vested in me, I now pronounce you husband and wife." The judge shut his book. "You may kiss the bride?" Moretti turned his gray, dead eyes on her for the first time. "That will not be necessary," he said. The judge stammered. "But it is tradition?" "We are finished." Moretti dropped Lena's wrist and turned to Mara. "Make sure he's paid and shown the door." And just like that, her life was over. Lena was married to a man who wouldn't even pretend to like her, standing in a marble hall, wearing a ring she didn't remember him putting on her finger. She was Mrs. Adrian Moretti. An object, a nobody. Moretti was already turning away, his focus on his phone. Lena stood like a statue in a fancy dress and watched him leave without looking back. "Come," Mara said gently, touching her arm. "I will show you to your new rooms." "I have a room." "That was just temporary. You have new quarters now." Lena let Mara guide her through the cold, spotless halls, up another set of stairs, to a wing of the house she hadn't seen. It was all the same, beautiful, expensive, and completely empty. Mara opened a door to a suite that made her old room look like a closet. A living room, a bedroom, and a closet already filled with a stranger's clothes. "This is the East Wing," Mara told her. "Mr. Moretti's rooms are in the West Wing. You'll have your privacy." "How considerate," Lena said, her voice totally dead. "There are rules." Mara's tone went formal again. "You cannot leave the estate without an escort and his direct permission. All outside contact has to be approved. Breakfast is at 8, lunch at 1, dinner at 7. You must attend dinner. And if I say no, then you will be brought to the dining room." "It would be easier for you to just show up," Mara advised, backing toward the door. "Get some sleep. Your training starts at dawn." "And what's my job all day in this fancy cage?" Mara stopped at the door. "Whatever you want. Read, watch TV, walk the grounds. Just don't leave and don't cause a scene. Or else him." Mara laid out the fine print for breaking a deal with Moretti, and her tone was so cold it could freeze fire. "Trust me," she said, "you don't want to find that out." Then poof, she was gone. Lena floated through her new gilded cage, checking out drawers packed with literally everything she could possibly need. Clothes that fit perfectly, shoes, and a ton of jewelry. The laptop on the desk was a trap, a digital prison with no real internet and zero contact with the outside world. She just stared at the flawless, creepy, perfect lawn, a beautiful cage made of money. At night, she put on pajamas left by some invisible butler and got into the massive, lonely bed. She didn't cry or freak out. Instead, she laid there in the dark, already scheming her survival plan. Somewhere in the mansion, her husband was probably busy wrecking more lives for profit. Lena felt like she was being dragged underwater, which meant it was time to either fight or drown. The first week was pure silent treatment on a schedule. Breakfast alone, lunch alone. Dinner was a joke in a hall for 30, with them at opposite ends of a 20-foot table. Not a single word was spoken. He'd scroll on his phone while she poked at her food, just counting down the minutes until she could bolt. Mara would just appear every morning with a schedule, like a ninja secretary. The house ran on terrifying efficiency, with staff who were everywhere and nowhere. Lena had to learn the house rules by messing up. Rule 1, West Wing is off limits. Rule 2, don't ask about his business. Rule 3, nobody tells you the truth here. She was a ghost living in her own skin, present but totally invisible, a wife in name only. Then, on the 8th day, she finally snapped. It all went down at dinner. Moretti was glued to his tablet, ignoring her like she was furniture. After a full day of solitary confinement, some wire in her brain just broke. "Do you even know my name?" she asked the room. Moretti didn't even look up. "I'm sorry." "My name," she shot back. "Do you know it? Or am I just the wife in your contacts?" He finally put his tablet down, his freezing gray eyes locking onto hers. "Is there a point to this?" "Yeah, the point is I'm a person. I have a name. I had a life before you bought me. You signed the contract willingly." "Only because you threatened my dad's life." Lena's voice cracked. "You gave me no choice and you know it. I gave you an option. You took it. Now you don't like it." He picked up his tablet again. "Grow up?" Those 2 words hit like a punch. Lena jumped up so fast her chair crashed to the floor. "You're a disgusting monster," she seethed, shaking. "A heartless freak who thinks he can own people." Moretti's face was a total blank. "Are you finished?" "No, I'm not finished. I don't care what you wish." He stood up, and the huge room suddenly felt like a closet. "You want to know why I don't know your name? Because you are irrelevant. You are a business deal, a signature on paper. I needed a strategic wife, and you were available. That's it. There's no secret heart of gold for you to discover here. This is reality. The sooner you accept it, the less this will suck for you." Lena could feel the tears burning behind her eyes. She refused to let them fall. "I hope you rot in hell." "I'm already there." He walked to the door, then stopped for the final blow. "And for the record, your name is Lena. I know it perfectly well. I just don't care." Then he left. Lena stood there alone in the empty hall and finally let it all out. She cried for her family, her old life, and the girl she used to be. She cried until she was empty. Then she wiped her face, stood up straight, and went back to her room. If Moretti wanted her to be a pretty, silent accessory, he was dead wrong. She had no idea how, but she would find a way to fight back. She had to, because the only other option was to let this place destroy her. And Lena Ward refused to go down without a fight, even with the odds stacked against her. The next morning, Mara was at her door, looking almost apologetic. "Mr. Moretti needs to see you in his office," she said. "Now." Lena's stomach turned to a block of ice. She had fully expected to be dragged away by guards after her dinner outburst. Just seeing daylight felt like a small victory. "What does he want?" "He didn't say, but I'd hurry. He's not a fan of waiting." Lena threw on some clothes, brushed her hair, and followed Mara down the maze-like hallways, her heart hammering against her ribs like a drum solo. She had called this guy a monster to his face and wished him eternal damnation. Men like him didn't just forgive that. Mara knocked on his office door, opened it, and motioned for Lena to go in alone. Moretti was at his desk, looking exactly the same, composed, cold, untouchable. He didn't even glance up. "Sit," he commanded. Lena sat, twisting her hands in her lap. The silence was thick enough to cut. Moretti signed a paper, set it down, and finally met her gaze. "You're angry," he stated. "I can respect that, but if you ever speak to me like that again, there will be consequences, understood?" "Crystal," Lena bit out. "Good." He pulled a folder from his desk and flipped it open. "You have a degree in early childhood education. You were 3 credits short when you quit to care for your mother, is that correct?" The sudden topic switch was jarring. "How do you know that?" Lena, I know everything about you. Your school records, your job history, your medical charts. I know you're allergic to shellfish and that you broke your arm falling off a bike when you were 9. I know your blood type and social security number. He shut the folder. When I acquire an asset, I understand all of its features. The word asset made her skin crawl. Why does that matter? Because you need something to do, and sitting in your room being miserable isn't working for anyone. He slid a piece of paper toward her. There's a private school 20 minutes from here. They need help with their after-school program. 3 days a week, 2 hours a day. You'll get a paycheck, but it goes into an account that I control. Lena just stared at the paper, scared to touch it. You're letting me work? I'm giving you a way to stop haunting my house like a ghost. He leaned back in his chair. You'll have a driver. You'll have security. You will not leave the approved route or schedule. You will not contact anyone from your past life. You will not mention me, this house, or our arrangement to a single soul. Break any of these rules and this ends. Got it? It was a leash, disguised as a favor. A slightly longer leash, but still a leash. When do I start? Lena asked quietly. Monday. Mara will fill you in. He picked up his pen, the clear signal for her to leave. You can go. Lena stood but stopped at the door. Why are you doing this? Doing what? This job. Last night you made it pretty clear you didn't care if I existed. Moretti's face was a blank mask. I don't. But your dramatic little scenes at dinner are becoming a pain. Consider this for my own convenience. The insult was meant to sting, but Lena was too hyped about the idea of escaping this mansion, even for only 6 hours a week, to care about his motives. Thank you, she said, hating that a tiny part of her actually meant it. He didn't respond. She left. Mara was waiting outside and walked her back to her room. The older woman's face was unreadable, but Lena saw a flash of approval in her eyes. That went better than expected, Mara commented. Did you know about this? I suggested it. Mara stopped at Lena's door. You needed something to do. He needed his quiet dinners back. This solution works for both of you. So you manipulated him. I gave him a solution to a problem he hadn't figured out yet. The corner of Mara's mouth twitched. There's a difference. Now let's get to it. We need to go over the security rules before Monday. The weekend moved at a snail's pace, but Monday morning came with the feeling Lena hadn't had in forever. Excitement. She dressed carefully in an outfit that felt like her old self, did her hair, and met the driver at the door at exactly 2 p.m. All right, so our girl Lena gets picked up by this absolute unit named Thomas. Dude's in his mid-40s, built like a fighter, but with puppy dog eyes that just don't match the frame. He pops the door for her, no words exchanged, and they peel out, leaving the hills behind for the city grind. Lena just leans against the cool glass, watching the world blur by. She's seeing regular people doing regular stuff, walking dogs, hitting the bus stop, hauling groceries. A total flashback to a life she had just weeks ago. Now it's like a ghost story. The school, though. A legit brick safe house, chilling in a quiet neighborhood where the trees are just starting to pop with autumn colors. The windows are plastered with kids' art. The parking lot is pure minivan and sedan energy. 2 hours, Thomas grunts, throwing the car in park. I'll be right here. Lena gives a quick nod and dips out. Her second shadow, a guard from the follow car, posts up near the school entrance, but at least gives her the dignity of not coming inside. The principal, a Mrs. Chen, greets her with a handshake that actually feels real and a smile that isn't fake. Mrs. Moretti, we're so glad you could make it. It's a huge deal for us. That name feels so sus, like a costume she's forced to rock. Still, Lena plays along, following Mrs. Chen into a loud room where a dozen kids, maybe 6 to 8, are deep in their zone. This is our after-school program, Mrs. Chen says. It's all about creativity, art, tunes, storytelling. They just need to nudge when they get off track. Then she gets the room's attention. Everyone, this is Mrs. Moretti. She's joining the squad from now on. A big chorus of, "Hi, Mrs. Moretti," hits the air. And bam! In that moment, the first time since her whole world imploded, Lena actually feels like herself. The 2 hours just evaporate. She helps a little girl named Sophie paint a dog, diffuses a high-stakes war over building blocks, and has a whole circle of kids hooked on a story. It was normalcy, the uncut, premium version. When Thomas pops up in the doorway to grab her, Lena feels this sudden gut punch of loss. She says goodbye to the kids, promising she'll be back on Wednesday, and walks to the car. "Good day?" he asks as they pull out. "Bro, it was better than good," Lena admits. On the ride back, she's desperately holding onto that vibe, that feeling of being light and having a purpose. But as the estate looms up, its massive gates opening to swallow them, that familiar weight crushes her chest. This was her cage. The school was just a temporary escape. Dinner was the usual tableau. Moretti at the head, Lena at the foot, and a massive canyon of silence between them. But something was different. Lena didn't feel completely invisible anymore. "How was your day?" Moretti asks, his eyes still glued to his phone. The question was so out of left field she almost fumbled her fork. "It was fine. The children were amazing." The convo died right there, but it was more than they'd spoken in a week, and Lena felt kind of weird about it. That night, she actually got some sleep, feeling a little break from the constant drowning. A new pattern locked in. Monday, Wednesday, and Friday were school days. The other days were straight-up house arrest, pacing the gardens, or hiding out with a book. Dinners with Moretti were a total gamble. Sometimes they'd exchange a few words. Other times it was just crickets. Lena started mapping the massive house in her free time, learning its quiet rhythm. The staff moved like ghosts on a tight schedule. Maids in the morning, gardeners at noon, and chefs making epic meals that she and Moretti barely touched. She found the quiet hallways and the forgotten rooms. She discovered the second-floor library, full of unread books and a window seat, perfect for watching the sunset. She learned Moretti's office was the forbidden zone, only open to his right-hand woman, Mara, and some dudes in sharp suits who showed up at weird hours. She saw he pulled all-nighters, a single light burning in the West Wing, long after the rest of the estate went dark, and she learned she was being watched 24/7. It was never obvious, just a flicker of movement in her peripheral vision, the same faces popping up around the grounds, the telltale shine of Thomas's car trailing her walks. This constant surveillance should have made her paranoid. Instead, it just made her tired. 3 weeks into this bizarre new life, the whole game changed. It started small. Her laptop, which she hadn't touched in days, was now shifted to the left. Dresser drawers she'd left cracked open were now closed tight. A book disappeared from her bedside table, only to show up 2 days later in a completely different room. At first, Lena chalked it up to being forgetful, or maybe a really obsessive housekeeper. But then she found the picture, stashed inside one of her novels. It was a photo of her at the school, smiling with Sophie and the other kids. Someone took it without her knowing. Somebody was there. Her hands were shaking when she showed the pic to Mara that afternoon. "Where did this come from?" Mara's face went completely pale. It was inside a book in my room. Somebody put it there. Mara grabbed the photo, her look getting dead serious. Stay here. She was gone for 10 minutes. When she came back, her face was a grim mask. Mr. Moretti will see you now. A knot of dread twisted in Lena's stomach as she followed Mara to the off-limits office. But when Mara swung the door open, Moretti wasn't alone. 2 guys stood by his desk. One was his security chief, a mountain of a man named Victor. The other was younger, with intense eyes that locked on her the second she walked in. Sit, Moretti ordered. Lena dished. He held up the photograph. How long has this been going on? I'm not sure. A few days, maybe longer. I've noticed things moved in my room. I thought it was just me until I found this. What things? My laptop, my clothes, books, just little things. A muscle in Moretti's jaw started twitching. He passed the photo to Victor. I want to know who entered her room outside the normal cleaning staff. I want a full report with names and logs before the day is over. Understood, sir. And I want security tripled around the East Wing. Nobody gets near her rooms unless I personally authorize it. Victor gave a sharp nod and left, the younger guy right behind him. Lena was now alone with Moretti and Mara. Is someone trying to hurt me? Lena asked, hating the shake in her voice. I don't know. Moretti shot back, his gaze cold and calculating. But someone is watching you, and they have access to my home. He got up and paced to the window, hands behind his back. You are not to leave the estate until this is handled. Your school visits are over. But the children are not my responsibility. Your safety is. He spun to face her. Someone knows you are here, knows your schedule. That picture was taken 3 days ago. This person has been shadowing you for that long, totally invisible to my security. His words hit Lena like a sheet of ice. Someone had been watching, tracking her, close enough to snap the photo. Who would do this? She whispered. That is what I intend to find out. Moretti's tone was flat, but there was a dangerous fire in his eyes. Until then, you stay in this house. You do not go anywhere unescorted. You report anything unusual to Mara. Do you understand? Lena could only nod. Say the words. I understand. Good. Mara will stay with you. Do not argue. With a small wave, he dismissed them, his focus already back on his phone. Lena followed Mara out, her legs feeling like jelly. Why would anyone want to harm me? She asked as they got near her room. I have nothing. I am no one in his world. I'm just... You are his wife, Mara cut in softly, and that alone makes you a target. But he doesn't even want me. Everyone in this house knows that. Do they? Mara shot her a quick look. You live under his roof. You have his name. To his enemies, you represent a weakness, a way to hurt him. That's barbaric. That is the world you live in now. Reaching Lena's room, Mara did a deep search, checking every closet, window, and corner. She found nothing, but the feeling of being violated was still there. Someone had been in here, touched her stuff, and watched her. I'll be just outside, Mara said. Get some rest. But sleep was a joke. She sat on the bed, her eyes glued to the door, seeing phantom shapes in the hallway and invisible hands on the doorknob. Every little noise made her jump. The normal sounds of the old house now sounded like footsteps coming for her. She thought being a prisoner here was the worst it could get. She was wrong. The hours just bled away. Dinner was brought up and taken away. Mara delivered a tray, since Moretti had called off their usual silent dinner. Darkness fell. and the house got that creepy kind of quiet it always did at night, like it was holding its breath. Lena was finally about to crash from pure exhaustion and fear when voices from the hallway jolted her awake. You cannot simply lock her away as if she's a possession. That is precisely what I can do. Moretti's voice shot back, sharp as a razor. There is an intruder in my house, Mara. Until I find them, she will not leave this wing. She will go mad. Then she goes mad. It is better than her ending up dead. A long pause. Then Mara spoke, her voice lower. You are worried for her. I am worried about appearing weak. Dead silence. Then he drops this gem. If she's harmed, it looks like I can't protect my assets, and that's not an option. The other guy just scoffs. Whatever you say, boss. And leaves. Lena's just there in the dark, processing it. This isn't about her safety. It's about his brand, his reputation for power. The outcome wasn't a shock. She totally saw that coming. The sheer misery of it, though, was a whole other beast. The following 3 days were an agonizing crawl of stress and boredom. Lena was basically jailed in her own suite, only let out for meals in a small side room. Forget the fancy hall. Mara's quiet presence was both a relief and a cage. Victor showed up twice to give updates. Or, let's be real, to brief Mara, since he looked straight through Lena. They'd scanned the security footage, interrogated the staff, and checked all the logs, but came up empty. Whoever invaded Lena's room was a phantom, leaving zero evidence. On the 4th day, Moretti called for her again. This time, he looked beat. Not actually exhausted. Dudes in his position never show that. But he had some fresh dark circles under his eyes. We've got a lead, he said, skipping the small talk. A housekeeper, name's Maria, entered your room outside her scheduled shift. Her cover story is she was subbing for a sick co-worker. You believe that? Yeah, right. He swivels his laptop to face her, showing the security feed. It shows a woman in a uniform walking straight to the desk, hiding the photo in a book, and then getting out of there. That is not the move of somebody just cleaning up. So she's the culprit. She planted the picture, sure, but someone else gave it to her. Someone else took the original. He snapped the laptop shut. Maria's clammed up, terrified. Of who? Now that's the real question. Moretti leaned back. I've got more enemies than I can count, Lena. Any one of them could use you to get to me. Then let me go. The words shot out before she could stop them. If I'm putting you in danger, if this is a problem for you, then let me walk. Cancel the deal, I'll disappear, and you can go back to. No. And why not? You said I was nothing. A document. So just rip it up. Because the world doesn't work like that. He stood up, and the temperature in the room instantly dropped. You are mine, Lena. I don't give up my property, and I damn sure don't let people think they can just snatch it from me. This person, whoever it is about to get a very hard lesson. The raw claim in his voice sent a weird chill down her spine, and it wasn't just fear. So what's the plan? She asked. Now you go back to your normal routine. You start your school visits again tomorrow, but you said, I know exactly what I said, but locking you up screams weakness. It makes our little stalker think they've already won. His eyes locked on hers, and for a split second, she didn't see coldness, but a flash of pure, hardcore resolve. You will go back to work at that school. Victor's crew will beef up security, and I'm giving you a personal bodyguard. Mara already. Not Mara. He walked to the door and opened it. Get in here. A woman came in, maybe late 20s, built like an athlete, dark hair in a tight bun, with eyes that scanned the whole room in a nanosecond. She had the posture of a pro soldier, all controlled power and coiled readiness. "This is Irina," Moretti said, "ex-military, close protection specialist. From now on, she's your shadow." Irina just gave Lena a quick professional nod, her expression a total blank. "Ma'am, I don't need a bodyguard," Lena shot back. "You don't have a choice." Moretti was already turning away, discussion over. "Irina goes with you everywhere. She'll be in the room adjoining yours. She's armed at all times. When she gives an order, you follow it instantly. No questions asked. Understood?" Lena looked at Irina, whose eyes were just professionally empty. Just another leash, another reminder she was a possession to be guarded, not a person. "Crystal," Lena shot back, her voice laced with bitterness. She walked out, Irina 2 steps behind her, feeling like the walls were closing in. That night, Moretti actually spoke to her at dinner. It was short, a question about school, a comment about the rain, but it was way more than usual, and Lena found it incredibly unnerving. "Why are you being like this?" she finally snapped. "Being like what? Like you give a damn. Talking to me like I'm an actual person." His fork stopped moving. He set it down slowly. "I'm not being like anything." "Then what is this? What's going on with us? We're having dinner. You know what I mean." Moretti didn't answer for a long, tense moment. He got up, took his wine, and went to the window overlooking the grounds. "When I was 12, he said, not facing her, "a rival crew took out my father. It was messy, public, a message to anyone else getting ideas." He stopped, taking a sip. "My mother tried to run. She grabbed my brother and me and tried to go off grid. They tracked us down in 3 days. They executed her right there in front of us." Lena felt her own breathing stop. She knew nothing about his past and suddenly wasn't sure she wanted to. The guy in charge looked at us and said, "For now, you're worth more alive." Moretti's voice was completely flat, dead. "We were their property for 2 years, just leverage to use against my father's old crew. They fed us just enough to live and beat us just enough to obey." "How did you get out?" "I never got out. I earned my way out by becoming useful, by proving I was a better tool than a hostage." He turned around then, and the emptiness in his eyes was a punch to her gut. "I learned very young that in this life, you either own or you are owned. There's no in between." "That's not true." "Isn't it? Your father's gambling problem is why you're sitting here. You were an asset he traded, just like me." He walked back to the table, but didn't sit. "The only difference is I won't touch you." "I will not hurt you, but I'm not going to lie about what this is. You belong to me, Lena, and I protect what's mine." "I'm not yours," she whispered, the words weaker than she wanted. "My ring is on your hand, my roof is over your head. Your safety is my problem." His jaw tightened. "Someone is testing my defenses by coming after you. They need to be taught that that was a mistake." "So this is all about your status?" "Yes," he said, without a hint of hesitation. "But that doesn't mean I will let you get hurt." It wasn't him admitting he cared. It wasn't love or even basic kindness. It was cold, calculated self-interest. But it was also the most honest he'd ever been with her. Lena couldn't find a reply, so she just stayed quiet. She ate her dinner while Moretti was glued to his phone. When she got up to leave, he didn't even look up. But as she got to the door, his voice cut her off. "Lena," she froze. "Don't make me regret giving you this bit of slack." She left without another word. Irina was waiting in the hall, a silent, unmoving guard. They walked to Lena's room. And for the first time since arriving, Lena felt a tiny crack in her total isolation. She had a bodyguard who wouldn't speak, a husband who saw her as property, and a mystery enemy trying to use her as a pawn against him, a man who just admitted he felt zero for her. Lena stared at the ceiling in bed, trying to figure out how she ended up in this nightmare, and trying even harder to understand why Moretti's ice-cold promise to protect her was the most comforting thing she'd heard in weeks. Going back to school should have been a relief. Instead, Lena was glued to the car mirrors, watching every vehicle that tailed them, every new face she saw. Irina sat beside her in the back, a silent and watchful shadow, her hand never far from the weapon Lena knew she had. Thomas drove them to the school's entrance while Victor's backup car parked right behind them. A 3-man armed detail for a 2-hour kids' art class. The overkill was so extreme, it would have been hilarious if it wasn't so terrifying. "Stick close to the building," Irina muttered as Lena reached for the door. "Stay away from the main lot. If I tell you to run, you run. No questions." "I'm going into a school, not a war zone." "To a threat, there's no difference?" Irina's expression was like stone. 2 hours? And then we're out of here. The kids mobbed Lena the second she walked in, all talking at once about what she'd missed. A little girl named Sophie latched onto her leg and refused to let go. "We missed you," she said. "Mrs. Chen said you were sick." "I'm all better now." Lena knelt down to her level, forcing a smile she hoped looked real. "So, what kind of epic masterpiece are we making today?" The next 2 hours were a complete blur of poster paint, glitter, and the chaos of happy kids. Lena helped build a cardboard castle, brokered a high-stakes Lego treaty, and read 3 different books to a crowd that couldn't agree on one. For a little while, she almost forgot about the guard at the door. Almost gets a taste of normal, but bam, reality check. She spots Irina's reflection, sees the other teacher practically sweating bullets, and that fragile piece is history. When Thomas rolls up for pickup, Lena says bye to the kids and falls right into formation behind Irina. The whole security team forms a human bubble around them on the way to the car, and Lena can feel a million eyes burning holes into them from the school windows. "Has it always been this insane?" she asks the second the car is moving. "Back then, when I came to visit, were people watching me?" "Yes." Irina drops the bomb, zero hesitation. "And you never thought to give me a heads up?" "It wasn't your business to know. Now it is." The drive back to the compound was dead silent. Lena just stared out the window, her mind racing, thinking about how many of her memories were now completely ruined. How many hidden cameras had basically been chronicling her entire life? How many secret pictures of her were floating around in the shadows? Seeing Moretti in the grand hall was a total curveball, making Lena stop dead in her tracks. "So, the visit," he grills her. "It was fine, the kids were happy I was there." "No drama?" "None." Her eyes dart to Irina, who gives the slightest shake of her head. Everything was 100% normal. Good. He starts to walk away, then stops cold. "I need you at dinner tonight, we've got company." A freezing dread just wraps around Lena's stomach. "What kind of company?" "Associates. You're my wife. You're going to smile, say nice things, and you're going to vanish the exact moment I tell you to." His voice was all business, like he was closing a deal. "Mara is getting you ready. Dinner is at 7 o'clock. He was already gone before she could even think of a reply, leaving Lena standing there with Irina. "What the hell was that?" Lena whispered. "You're being put on display," Irina stated flatly. "Come on, Mara can give you the details." Mara was already in the room, pulling gowns from the closet and laying them on the bed. Her eyes flicked up when they walked in, her face a total mask. "Did he brief you on tonight's mission?" "Barely. What is going on?" "Mr. Moretti has to do business. You being there projects that his home life is stable, which is a massive power move." Mara held up a dark blue gown. "This one. It's low-key, but screams class." "So, I'm a decoration," Lena said, her voice totally flat. "You are his wife. That's not the same thing." Mara put the dress down and started laying out jewelry. "These men are sharks, Lena. You have to be careful. Ask 0 questions about their work. Offer 0 opinions. Just smile, be polite, and let Mr. Moretti do all the talkings. And what if they ask me questions? Keep your answers short and punt back to your husband." Mara's eyes locked onto hers. "This is not a trip to the school. These guys hunt for weaknesses. Show them absolutely nothing." 2 hours flew by. Lena stared at her reflection, at this total stranger in the mirror. The gown fit like a glove. The jewels were subtle, but you could tell they cost a fortune. Mara had twisted her hair into some kind of elegant, restrained masterpiece. She looked like she was born into Moretti's world, and she hated it. "Are you ready?" Mara asked. "No." "Perfect. It means you get it." Mara walked her down to the dining hall Lena had only been in once before, on her wedding day. The room was completely transformed. We're talking candlelight, sparkling on china that cost more than a new car, with wine chilling in crystal glasses. Over by the fireplace, Moretti was talking quietly with Victor. A black suit made his already intimidating frame look even deadlier. When his eyes landed on Lena, some unreadable emotion flashed across his face, gone in a heartbeat. "You look acceptable," he said. "That's the most romantic thing you've ever said to me." Lena shot back before she could stop herself. Victor's lips twitched, but Moretti's face was solid ice. "Our guests get here in 10 minutes. You will sit next to me. If anyone asks about us, you say we met through friends and it was love at first sight. If they ask about your past, you're going to be vague. Your dad was in finance. Your mom was a teacher. No more details. You're asking me to lie? I'm asking you to survive the night without causing an incident." He stepped closer. Lena could smell his expensive cologne, and under it, the bitter scent of major stress. Or maybe it was fear. "These men are not on our side, Lena. They aren't even on my side. They are hunters looking for any sign of a weak link. Do not be the weak link. And if I screw up, then the consequences are on both of us." His stare held hers, and in his eyes Lena saw something new, a tiny spark of concern. Not for her, she figured, but for his own reputation. But still it was there. "Just follow my lead. Are you able to do that?" Lena could only nod, her voice trapped in her throat. The doorbell rang. Moretti's face went smooth and cold as he offered her his arm. "It's showtime." She took it, and they moved together to welcome the wolves. 4 dudes. The leader was older, maybe 60, with silver hair and a face carved from harsh lines. He called himself Dmitry Volkov, and pure ice shot through Lena's veins. This was the creditor, the guy who sent enforcers to her family's house. "Ah, so we finally meet the famous bride," Volkov purred, and the touch of his lips on her hand made her skin crawl. "Adrian, you forgot to mention she was beautiful." "My private life is not up for discussion," Moretti replied smoothly. "Dmitry, you know Victor, and this is Marcus Chen, Antonio Ricci, and James Brennan." The other 3 came forward. Chen, about 40, had the eyes of a predator, and a smile that was just a shape. Ricci's friendly old man act was the scariest thing of all. Brennan was a mountain of a man, at least 6'5", with hands like hammers. They moved to the dining hall, where they put Lena right between Moretti and Volkov. She had to focus on every single breath, trying to will her hands to stop shaking as the food started coming out. "How long have you two been married?" Chen asked from across the table. 6 weeks. Moretti jumped in before Lena could say a word. "A small wedding, just family." "How very romantic." Volkov's voice was dripping with sarcasm. "I had no idea you had a sentimental side, Adrian." "There's a lot you don't know about me, Dmitri." Apparently, Volkov turned his full attention to Lena. "So tell me, my dear, how did you two meet?" Lena's mind went blank. She could feel Moretti's stare, a silent warning. "Through mutual friends," she stammered. "At a fundraiser, we started talking and we just clicked." "A fundraiser?" Ricci repeated, his nice guy smile locked in place. "And which one was that? Is that important?" Moretti's voice was quiet, but it was a clear threat. "We're here to talk business, not my dating life." Of course, of course." Ricci raised his glass. "To the happy couple." The toast went around the table. Lena drank, but the wine felt like sand in her mouth. The conversation then shifted to business, to routes and territories, and names she didn't recognize. She ate without tasting a thing, trying to become invisible, but Volkov's stare was a physical weight, sizing her up. "Robert Ward is your father, isn't he?" Volkov's question shattered the calm. The room went dead silent. Lena's fork froze midair. "Yes," she answered, on high alert. "We've done business. A nice guy, a total idiot with his money." Volkov's smile was a knife. "I'm so glad his debts were taken care of so peacefully." The unspoken threat poisoned the entire room. Everyone there heard the truth loud and clear. Lena was the payment for her father's debt to Moretti. A piece of property, not a bride. Under the table, Moretti's hand clamped down on her thigh. A brutal, silent command to stay put. His grip was bruising. "Robert and I came to an understanding," Moretti said, his voice a venomous whisper. "His family is now under my permanent protection." "How very generous." Volkov's eyes were shining with pure malice. "I trust she'll prove to be a worthy asset." The pressure on Lena's leg got even worse. She bit the inside of her cheek to stop from crying out in pain. "She is my wife," Moretti declared. "That is the only thing that matters." The topic changed, but the damage was done. Lena saw the change in all their eyes. Pity, amusement, cold appraisal. She was a liability, a crack in Moretti's armor. The dinner dragged on for another miserable hour. When dessert finally came, Lena's face ached from her fake smile, and her thigh was screaming from Moretti's death grip. At last he stood. "Gentlemen, we'll be moving to my study for drinks. Lena, you are dismissed for the night." The dismissal was a get-out-of-jail-free card, and Lena grabbed it with both hands. She made her excuses and got out of there on shaky legs, feeling Volkov's predatory eyes on her back the entire time. Mara was waiting in the hallway. How awful was it? "Horrible!" Lena's voice cracked. "Volkov knows. All of them know. They know I was payment for my father's debt." "It's likely they knew before they even arrived. Dmitri Volkov misses nothing." Mara led her toward the stairs. "Come on, let's get you out of that dress." But as they reached the second floor, voices started rising from the hall below. Lena froze, recognizing Moretti's voice. It was sharp, filled with a cold rage. "You had no right to bring that up at my table," he was saying. "Bring what up? The truth?" Volkov's laugh was a cruel, ugly sound. Moist, everybody knows you bought her, Adrian. Your little charade changes nothing. My private life is none of your concern. But it becomes my concern when it reveals a weakness. The girl is a liability. It's obvious you are overextending yourself to protect her. I protect what is mine. And that is the entire problem. Volkov's voice got even harsher. You are getting soft. You take on some nobody to clear a debt, then show her off like she's a prize. The whispers have already started, Adrian. They're asking if you've lost your nerve. Let them ask. I'm giving you advice. Get rid of her. Send her back to that pathetic family of hers. Show the world you are the man you were before this ridiculous marriage. Dead silence filled the air. Lena waited, holding her breath for Moretti's response. Get out of my house, Moretti finally said, his voice like frost. And do not come back without an invitation. You are making a mistake. The only mistake I made was allowing you to disrespect my wife at my own table. And a second time, I'm not going to be so nice. Footsteps echoed, followed by the heavy slam of the front door. Then, dead silence. Mara gently touched Lena's arm. Come on, you don't need to be hearing this. But Lena was completely paralyzed. Her brain was glitching, trying to compute what just happened. Moretti had actually stood up for her, kicking Volkov out for one insult. The same dude who swore she meant absolutely nothing to him. Why would he even do that? She whispered, completely baffled. Because you're his wife, Mara said, like it was the most obvious thing in the world. And no matter what else he feels, he takes that title seriously. They headed up to Lena's room, where Mara helped her get out of her gown. But Lena's mind was stuck on a loop, replaying the raw fury in Moretti's voice when he ordered Volkov out. She laid in bed, staring blankly at the ceiling, trying to solve the puzzle that was her husband. One second he treats her like property, the next he's defending her honor. He claims she's meaningless, but then holds her leg under the table like he's terrified she'll vanish into thin air. Yeah, sleep was definitely not happening tonight. When she finally did pass out, her dreams were a chaotic mess of cold gray eyes, icy hands, and voices calling her a worthy acquisition. She woke up to sun blasting through the windows and Irina standing over her. Get dressed, Irina commanded. Mr. Moretti wants to see you. Lena's heart sank into her stomach. Right now. 5 minutes ago. Move it. She threw on some jeans and followed Irina to Moretti's office, her dread growing with every single step. She was 100% sure he was about to call last night a complete disaster, label her a total embarrassment, and tear up their contract, shipping her right back to her father. But when she walked into the office, hold up, Moretti wasn't alone. A woman was standing by his desk, probably mid-40s, with sharp features, a killer power suit, and a fancy leather briefcase. This is Catherine Moore, Moretti said, getting straight to the point. She's going to be your teacher. Lena just blinked. Teaching me what? How to survive in this world. He pointed to the chairs. Sit. Lena sat. Catherine just stood there, sizing her up with these intense, analytical eyes. Last night was a major wake-up call, Moretti added. You are so not equipped for the kinds of events you'll have to attend as my wife. Catherine will train you on how to act, how to read between the lines, how to figure people out, and how to protect yourself. I don't need protection. I have Irina. Irina protects your body. Catherine will protect everything else. He stood up and turned his back to them, staring out the window like a dramatic movie villain. These people will try to use you to get to me, Lena. They'll ask innocent-sounding questions that are anything but. They'll play best friends to dig for information. They will find any weakness and exploit it without a second thought. You need to be ready. So what? I'm going to spy school. Catherine's lips barely twitched. Something like that. We'll start with basic situational awareness and level you up from there. And if I refuse? You won't, Moretti stated flatly, still talking to the glass. Because the only other option is being locked in this house forever. Is that what you want? Lena glanced at Catherine's composed, all-business vibe, then at Moretti's rigid back. Game on. When do we start? She asked softly. Now. Catherine snapped open her case and pulled out a folder. Let's start with last night. Tell me every single detail you can remember from that dinner. For the next 2 hours, Catherine absolutely grilled her. What were Volkov's exact words and his tone? Where did everyone sit and how did they interact? What kind of watch was Chen wearing and what did it say about his financial status? Lena did her best, but it became painfully clear how much she'd completely missed. Catherine pointed out power dynamics Lena hadn't seen, secret alliances she never picked up on, and threats disguised as simple pleasantries. You're not an idiot, Catherine said when they finally took a break. But you are dangerously naive. That will get you killed if we don't fix it. I'm not trying to be some secret agent. I just want to live. In this life, sweetheart, those are the same thing. Catherine closed her folder. We'll meet 3 times a week, 2 hours a session. By the time I'm finished with you, you'll be able to walk into a den of wolves and walk out without a scratch. Is that what happened to you? For a split second, something flickered across Catherine's face. Pain or maybe regret. Yes, and I survived. You will too. She left, and Lena was alone in Moretti's office, her head spinning. So this was her new reality. Bodyguards, spy training, and learning to spot danger in casual conversation. The door opened, and Moretti walked back in. He'd conveniently been gone for the last half hour of her session. How did it go? He asked. She thinks I'm clueless. You are. He sat down behind his desk. But you're also smart enough to learn. Catherine wouldn't have taken the job otherwise. Why are you doing all this? Lena demanded. This security, this training. You could just lock me away. It would be way simpler. Simpler isn't always better. He picked up a pen, rolling it in his fingers. You were right about one thing. This marriage makes you a target, but it also makes you a weapon if you're trained properly. People will underestimate you because you're young and naive. That can be a huge advantage. So, this is still just business? Everything is business. But he said it while looking away from her. Go, get some rest. You have classes tomorrow and Catherine again on Wednesday. Lena stood up, but she paused at the door. Thank you. For last night, for putting Volkov in his place. Moretti's hand clenched the pen. I wasn't defending you. I was defending my choice to marry you. There is a difference. Is there? He finally met her eyes, and for a split second, she saw past the cold mask to something raw and real underneath. Yes, don't you forget it. Lena left, but the image of that raw vulnerability was stuck in her head. Moretti was lying. To her, to himself, probably to everyone. He could claim this was all business and that she was just a pawn, but his actions told a completely different story. The real question was, what story was it? And did Lena even want to know the answer? She spent the afternoon in the library trying to read, but mostly just staring out at the grounds. Irina was sitting nearby, a silent shadow Lena was surprisingly getting used to. As the sun started to set, casting long shadows across the lawn, a flicker of movement by the garden caught her attention. A figure slipping between the hedges. Too far away to see clearly, but someone was definitely there. "Irina," Lena whispered. The bodyguard was at her side in an instant. "What is it?" "There, by the fountain. Somebody is watching the house." Irina immediately pulled out her phone and started rattling off in Russian. Within seconds, Victor and 2 more guards were sweeping the area. But by the time they reached the garden, whoever was there had vanished into thin air. Victor came to the library himself, his face like stone. "Did you get a clear look at them?" "No, just a shadow, really. They disappeared before I could see anything else." "Male or female?" "I'm not sure." Victor and Irina shot each other a look that screamed, "This is bad." "Stay here. Don't go near the windows." They left, leaving Lena alone with her heart pounding and the growing feeling that something was seriously wrong. Someone had been on the property, inside the so-called secure zone, just watching. Dinner that night was beyond tense. Moretti showed up late, his jaw tight with barely controlled fury. "We found footprints," he said without any greeting. "Someone was in the garden. They got past the outer security and watched the house for a full 20 minutes before you spotted them." "How is that even possible?" "That's what I'm trying to find out." He stabbed at his food but didn't eat. "This isn't random, Lena. Someone is targeting you. First the photograph, now this. They want you to feel their eyes on you." "For what reason?" "To scare you, to scare me, to prove that they can get close whenever the hell they want." He threw his fork down. "I'm doubling security again. You will not go anywhere without a minimum of 3 guards. That includes inside these walls." "Adrian, do not argue this with me." His use of her first name was so shocking it stunned her into silence. "Someone wants to hurt you to get to me. I will not let that happen." "Because it would make you look weak." "Yes." He locked his gaze with hers. "And because you are mine to keep safe." There it was again, that possessive tone that should have freaked her out, but somehow it made her feel protected. "What if we can't stop them?" Lena asked softly. "What if they get to me anyway?" "Then they will wish they had never been born." The absolute ice in his voice sent a shiver straight down her spine. "I have built my name on making an example of those who cross me. Whoever is doing this will learn that lesson personally." He stood up and walked to the window, staring out at the darkened grounds. Lena watched him. This man she'd been forced to marry, trying to figure out the tangled mess of conflicting emotions in her chest. She was supposed to hate him, to be planning her escape, counting the minutes until this contract was over. Instead, she felt this insane urge to go to him, to stand beside him at the window and face whatever was coming together. It was a dangerous thought. A completely stupid one, but it was there, growing stronger every day, and Lena had no idea how to stop it. The next 48 hours were filled with a silence that was way more terrifying than any alarm. Lena just drifted through the house, a ghost waiting for her sentence, hyper-aware of every shadow, every little sound. The security detail was a constant, suffocating presence. Armed men in the hallways, cameras tracking her every move, and Victor doing hourly sweeps. The estate had become a fortress, with Lena as the prisoner at its very center. So Catherine just rolls up on Wednesday morning, packing coffee and a tablet loaded with a whole gallery of faces. "Pop quiz, hot shot," she says, dropping into a chair across from Lena in the library. Start naming names. Lena's eyes land on the first picture. Some middle-aged woman dripped out in an evening gown at a super bougie gala. I have no idea who she is. You will. That's Vivian Castellano. Her husband runs the port authority, meaning he controls half the damn shipping in this city. She's on husband number 3, has 2 sons from the first, and gets way too lit at parties. Catherine swipes to the next pic. And this is Lynn, Marcus Chen's wife. She speaks 4 languages, got an economics degree from Harvard, and everyone writes her off as arm candy. Big mistake. Lena finally asks, Yo, why are you showing me all these women? Because they're about to be your allies or your enemies, and you need to know which is which before you even breathe the same air as them. Catherine flips up another photo. This one's a younger woman, about Lena's age, with platinum hair and a smile that screams, Predator. This is Natasha Volkov, Dmitri's daughter. She is a major threat. A block of ice just forms in Lena's gut. How? She's clever, totally ruthless, and a complete daddy's girl. If Dmitri decides you're a liability, Natasha's the blade he sends to clean it up. Catherine puts the tablet down. The world you're about to step into is their playground. They'll smile at you, invite you places, ask about your new life. Every single chat is them gathering intel. Every second is a test. So I shouldn't trust anyone. You should trust your gut and start analyzing them just as hard as they're analyzing you. Catherine gets up and walks to the window, her whole vibe screaming control. I was in your shoes once, young, clueless, married to a man in this business. I thought the key to survival was to be invisible. And how did that work out? My naivete got my husband killed. Catherine's voice was completely flat. Zero emotion, because I didn't see the danger until it was already over. I put my trust in the wrong person and ran my mouth to the wrong woman at the wrong party. She turns, her eyes locking onto Lena's. Don't make my mistakes. Learn way, way faster. For the next hour, Catherine drills her on faces, loyalties, and backstories. Lena's head was throbbing with info, but a picture was starting to form, a nasty web of power, promises, and debts. You're learning, Catherine said as she packed up. Next time we're doing body language. For now, burn these faces into your brain. After Catherine bounced, Lena stayed with the tablet, the portraits glowing in the dark room. These were the sharks in Moretti's tank, the ones she'd have to outplay just to stay alive. Her eyes were still locked on Natasha Volkov when Mara just appeared at the door. You have a visitor, Mara announced, her face a perfect poker mask. Who is it? It's your mother. The entire room felt like it tilted. Lena shot out of her seat, the tablet smacking the carpet. What? Where? She's downstairs. Mr. Moretti is with her, Mara said softly. He sent me to give you the rundown. The rundown for what? The rules for this meeting. You get 15 minutes. You can't talk about this house, Mr. Moretti's work, or your deal. Victor will be in the room the whole time. Are you serious? I can't even talk to my own mother alone. I'm just telling you what Mr. Moretti said. If you want to see her, you'll follow his rules. A wave of pure rage hit Lena, making her want to break something, to scream about rights she didn't have. But her mom was downstairs. 15 minutes was an eternity compared to nothing. Show me, she said. Her mother was in a small waiting room, sitting in the very edge of a velvet chair like she was scared to mess it up. She looked more tired than Lena remembered, with more gray in her hair and more sadness carved into her face. The second she saw Lena, she gasped and stood up. My girl, she whispered. They met in the middle of the room, and Lena just melted into her mother's hug. The familiar smell of her lavender soap was a throwback to a safer time, and for a second, Lena was 8 years old again, safe at home. Then the reality of this place, of what she was now, came crashing back. "Are you okay?" her mother begged, holding her out to scan her face. "They told me you were, but I had to see for myself." "I am, Mom. I really am." Lena was hyper-aware of Victor by the door and that Moretti was probably listening in from somewhere. "And Dad, how is he?" "We're getting by." Her mother's eyes were red, clearly from a lot of crying. "Your father wanted to see you so badly, but they explained. I get that he can't, not right now." Lena squeezed her mother's hands. "But I'm fine, I swear. This place." Her mother's eyes swept the room, taking in all the fancy furniture and suffocating cash. "It's massive. Are you all alone here?" "With my husband." The word tasted like poison. "What about staff?" "I haven't been introduced." "Your husband." It all happened so fast. Her mother's voice started to crack. "I'm so sorry, Lena. This is our fault. If your father had just—" "Mom, please don't." Lena shot a look at Victor, who was checking his watch. Their time was ticking away. "It is what it is. I'm adjusting." "But are you happy?" The question hit her like a punch to the gut. Happy? The idea was completely foreign. "I'm safe," she said, because it was the only truth she could offer. "That's what's important." Her mom opened her mouth to argue, but the door swung open and in walked Moretti. He'd changed into a suit looking every bit the untouchable CEO. As he got closer, Lena felt her mother tense up beside her. "Mrs. Ward," he started, his voice dripping with fake politeness. "I trust you found the visit acceptable." "Yes, thank you for letting me come." Her mother's voice was weak and shaky. "I just needed to know my daughter was okay." "Lena is well cared for here. You have my word." He put a hand on Lena's shoulder, a clear sign of ownership that made her skin crawl. "But I'm afraid I have to cut this short. I have urgent business." It was a clear dismissal. Her mother got it immediately and reached for her bag. "Wait," Lena pleaded. "Just one more minute." "Your time is over." Moretti's grip on her shoulder got tighter. "Victor will show your mother out." Lena hugged her mom one last time, trying to inhale that lavender scent to brand the memory of her touch into her mind. "I love you," she whispered. "I love you too, my baby, always." And then Victor was leading her mother away as Moretti guided Lena back to the stairs, and in a flash it was over. Lena kept it together until they hit the second-floor landing, where her composure completely shattered. She ripped her arm out of Moretti's grip and spun around to face him. 15 minutes? I get 15 minutes with my own mother after 2 months? "You got what I decided to give you," he said, his voice pure ice. "You should be thankful." "Thankful? You let her think I'm happy here. You played the part of the loving husband while I'm nothing but my wife. That is what you are, Lena. I'm your prisoner, and you just paraded my mother through my cage to show off your power." I allowed the visit because she was becoming a pain, showing up at my gates, calling City Hall, threatening to go to the press. Moretti's jaw was clenched tight. I gave her just enough to make her stop being a problem, nothing more. "She is my mother, not a problem you get to manage." "In my world, everyone is a problem to be managed." He stalked toward her, backing her up until she hit the wall. "You want more visits with your family? Then earn them." Prove you can be trusted not to say a single word that could get them erased. You wouldn't dare. I wouldn't. But Dmitry Volkov would. So would Marcus Chen or Antonio Ricci. His fist slammed into the wall next to her head, and she flinched hard. Your parents know you are here. That knowledge makes them a liability. The less they understand about my business, this house, my life, the longer they will live. Is that clear? Lena's breathing was fast and shallow. She could feel the insane heat coming off his body, his cologne mixed with the sharp smell of rage. I understand, she choked out. Good. He didn't move back. Your mother asked if you were content. What did you say? I told her I was safe. A smart answer. His eyes bored into hers, searching for something. And are you? Safe, that is. Here. With you. The question totally threw her. I don't know, am I? I don't know either. He finally pulled away, running a hand through his hair. Someone is watching this house. Someone has breached my security twice. Until I find out who it is and why they're here, I can't promise you anything. That's not exactly comforting. My goal isn't your comfort, it's your survival. He turned to go to his study. Stay in your suite tonight and lock the door. Irina will be posted outside if you need anything. He walked away, leaving Lena in the hallway, her heart hammering against her ribs, the ghost of his heat still on her skin. There was no way Lena was sleeping that night. She just laid there in the suffocating dark, listening to the massive house creak around her. Every noise was a footstep, every gust of wind was a hand on her window trying to get in. With midnight long gone, she finally gave up and drifted toward the balcony. Irina was supposed to be posted right outside, but a quick glance showed a totally empty hallway. Her stomach just dropped. Where the hell was her guard? Lena immediately snatched her phone and pulled up Moretti's number, a contact she'd never even thought about touching. Her thumb was literally shaking over the screen when a noise from downstairs turned her into a statue. Muffled, frantic voices. She crept back to her door, cracking it open just a hair. The hall was still dead silent, but the sounds of movement below were undeniable. Way too many people. Something was seriously wrong. Forgetting every instinct to hide, Lena slipped into the hall and headed for the stairs. She stuck to the shadows, pressing her back flat against the wall as the voices got clearer. In the garden. She's been gone an hour minimum. Lena's blood went ice cold. Peeking over the railing, she spotted Victor with Moretti and 3 other guys in the foyer. A body covered by a sheet was lying on the marble right between them. Who is it? Moretti's voice was chillingly calm. Maria, the housekeeper. Victor pulled back the sheet. Lena saw the woman's face for a split second before she had to look away. 1 shot to the head. Clean. Maria, the exact same woman who left the photo in her room, the one who was too scared to say a word. Irina's location? Moretti shot back. Perimeter sweep, Victor said, his jaw set like concrete. We moved everyone for a full search after the last security issue. Somebody knew our damn schedule, knew the perfect moment to make a play. A traitor, then? Moretti's question was a low, deadly hiss. Someone on my team is working with the person hunting Lena. It seems so, Moretti said, looking away from the body. Find them. I want every single person in this house interrogated. I want their bank statements, their call history, their entire lives ripped open. Someone betrayed us, and I want their head. And the girl. Seal off the east wing. Nobody gets in or out unless I say so. And find Irina. I need to know why she ditched her post. Lena's heart hammered against her ribs. She had to get back to her room before they saw her. But as she moved back, a hand clamped down hard over her mouth. She tried to scream, but the pressure just got tighter. An arm wrapped around her waist, lifting her right off the floor. "Be still," a woman's voice breathed right in her ear. "I'm not going to harm you, but you have to come with me right now." Lena fought back, trying to rip herself away, but her captor had a grip like steel. She was dragged backward, away from the stairs, and down a hallway she didn't recognize. "Stop fighting me!" the woman hissed. "I'm trying to keep you alive." They rounded a corner, and just like that, she was let go. Lena spun around to see Irina standing right in front of her. "What in God's name are you doing?" Lena managed to choke out. "Moving you somewhere safe." Irina's face was completely grim. Maria's death was not an accident. It was a warning. A warning about what? About what happens to anyone who tries to help you. Irina grabbed Lena's arm, pulling her toward a door at the end of the hall. "Maria wasn't your enemy. She was trying to warn you." "Warn me about what?" Irina threw the door open, revealing a tight staircase leading down into total blackness. "About who is really pulling the strings in all of this." "I don't understand any of this." "You will." Irina started down the stairs, her grip forcing Lena to come with her. "First, we have to get you out of the main house. If my gut is right, no place up there is secure anymore." They plunged into the pitch black with only Irina's phone for light. The stairs felt like they went on forever, the air getting colder with every step. At last they hit the bottom, walking into what looked like a wine cellar. Irina bolted the door shut behind them and led Lena past racks of ridiculously expensive wine to a tiny chamber at the very end. Inside was a simple cot, a table, and a locked cabinet. "What is this place?" Lena whispered. "A safe room. Mr. Moretti had it installed when he bought the property. Almost no one even knows it's here." Irina unlocked the cabinet, pulled out a handgun, and checked the magazine like a total pro. "You'll wait here until I can smoke out the mole. I can't just stay down here by myself." "You won't be. I'll be right outside." Irina looked straight at her. "But I need your trust, Lena. Can you give me that?" "I barely even know who you are." "I know, but at this moment, I'm all you've got." Irina's phone vibrated. She glanced at the screen and swore under her breath. "They're searching for you. I have to go back up, create some kind of diversion." "What do I say if they find me?" "They won't find you. This room is off all the blueprints. Officially, this space doesn't exist." Irina started for the door. "Do not open this for anyone but me. I don't care if it's Mr. Moretti, Victor, or God himself. You open it for me and only me." "How will I know it's you?" "I'll knock 3 times, pause, then 2 more. She rapped the pattern at the door to show her. "That's our signal. Anything else, you stay silent and hidden." Before Lena could even nod, Irina was gone. The heavy lock turned, sealing Lena inside the cellar room with nothing but a cot and her own growing panic. She sat down, trying to process the absolute chaos. Maria was murdered. A traitor was walking around Moretti's mansion, and her own bodyguard had locked her away because the entire house was now a trap. The room felt like it was closing in on her. Lena hugged her knees to her chest, trying to focus on her breathing. Inhale, exhale, stay calm, don't freak out. Time became a total blur. Was it minutes? Hours? She had no idea. Her phone had 0 service, and a single light bulb gave no hint if it was night or day. And then she heard footsteps right outside. Lena froze solid, listening. 3 knocks, a short pause, 2 more. She threw the bolt and opened the door to find Irina, whose face was a mask of exhaustion and worry. "We have a massive problem," Irina said instantly. "Mr. Moretti knows you're gone. The whole estate is on lockdown. He thinks you've been taken." "You didn't tell him where I am." "I can't, not right now." Irina paced the tiny room. "I need more time to expose the mole before you just reappear. If the wrong person finds out you're safe, they'll just try to hit you again." "So what's the plan?" "We wait, we watch." Irina pulled out her phone, showing a grid of security feeds. "I've patched into the main system. We can watch everything from down here." On the main screen, Lena saw Moretti in his study, with Victor and his team on either side. His face was a mask of pure, cold rage, but his hands were balled into white-knuckled fists. "He looks furious," Lena whispered. "He's terrified," Irina corrected, scrolling through the other feeds. "I have never seen him like this. He has torn this house to pieces looking for you. Because I'm his possession, his little investment. If that's what you need to tell yourself." Irina gave her a sharp look. "But I've been with Mr. Moretti for 3 years. I have never seen him lose control like this. Not for business, not for money, not for anything." Lena watched as Moretti suddenly shot up, sweeping his desk clean in one violent move before storming out of the room. The cameras tracked him down the hall to the foyer, then out onto the grounds, his search driven by a desperation that made Lena's own heart ache. "I need to let him know I'm okay," she said. "Not yet. Give me 2 more hours. I can narrow down our list of suspects." Irina switched the views. Right now, anyone could be the traitor. Half the staff is in a panic, and the other half looks guilty just because they're panicking. I just need a little time to see through all the noise. And if you can't find them in 2 hours, then you reappear and we face whatever happens next. Irina's jaw was tight, but she was obviously hoping it wouldn't come to that. Lena's eyes were glued to the monitors as Irina flipped through cameras. The kitchen staff were whispering in a nervous group. Security teams were spreading out over the estate. Mara stood outside Lena's bedroom, her face a perfect picture of fear. And Moretti was a ghost, moving everywhere, his search growing with an intensity that was starting to scare Lena more than anything else that night. "There," Irina breathed, freezing a frame and zooming in. "Look at that." The screen showed some figures slipping through the gardens. They were dressed in all black, moving with a clear purpose toward the east wing. "Who is that?" Lena asked. "I have no idea, but they have absolutely no business being there." Irina was already up. "Stay put. Lock this door. Do not let anyone in." "Wait!" But Irina was already gone, moving swift and silent. Lena shot the bolt and turned back to the monitors, her heart hammering in her chest. She watched Irina pop up on the garden feed, shadowing the unknown person. She saw them both turn a corner, disappearing from the camera's view. And then the feed died. All of them. Every last camera went completely dark at the same time. Lena stared at the blank screens as pure, unfiltered panic started to choke her. Something was terribly, terribly wrong. She was moving for the door when she heard them. Footsteps, right outside in the wine cellar. More than one person, and they were getting closer. Lena scrambled backward, desperately scanning the tiny room for a place to hide, but there was nowhere. The footsteps stopped just outside. A voice, muffled by the thick door, spoke. "I know you're in there, Lena." It was not Irina's voice. It was a man's. It sounded familiar, but she couldn't place it. Come on out. I'm not here to hurt you. We just need to have a talk. Lena flattened herself against the cold stone wall, trying to make her breathing silent. We can do this the easy way, the voice continued, or we can do it the hard way, but one way or another that door is opening. Just make this easy. There was a pause. Then a woman's voice cut in. Bring it down. There was a crash of metal on wood, the door splintering from the impact. Lena frantically looked for a weapon, for anything, but there was nothing. The door blew open, and framed in the doorway was the absolute last person Lena ever expected to see. Mara. And just like that, a total stranger materializes behind Lena. This guy's tall, dark-haired, and rocking the exact same ice-cold eyes as Moretti. He hits her with a smirking, "Hello, sister-in-law," introduces himself as Elias, and says it's time to talk about his brother. Lena's focus narrows to him. He's a dead ringer for Moretti. Same intense vibe. But here's the kicker. Adrian is all about that cold, locked-down control, while Elias is pure, chaotic danger. Lena can barely get out Mara's name, asking what she's doing here. Mara's cold reply, "My job." She strolls in, looking apologetic but totally resolute, saying, "I'm sorry, but this is happening." Lena's freaking out, but Elias just says, "I told you, I'm Elias Moretti." The guy closes in, pinning Lena against the wall. Adrian's younger brother, he explains. The one he kicked out 5 years ago for questioning the boss. Lena's completely lost. He just tells her, "You don't need to get it. You just need to come." He points to the door, adding that while quiet is nice, he's not afraid to get physical. Lena asks, "Where is Irina?" He replies casually, "Knocked out in the garden. She'll have a nasty headache, but she'll live." His smile isn't warm like Adrian's. This thing is made of pure razors. Unlike my bro, I don't take lives without a good reason. Lena warns him Adrian will find him, but he just cuts her off. "And do what? Wreck the place? Bro, he's already started." Elias pulls out a phone, showing security cams of Adrian absolutely losing his mind, pacing the halls in a silent rage. "He's going crazy trying to find you. It's beautiful. I didn't think he had it in him to care." Lena denies it. "He doesn't. I'm just an asset." Elias finds that hilarious. "Sure, tell yourself that. I've watched you two for weeks. The way he looks at you when no one's watching. That ain't business, sister-in-law. That's something way messier." It clicks for Lena. "You were the one watching me, the photo, Maria, all of it." Elias confirms Maria was just Mara's contact. The old lady got cold feet, threatened to rat us out to Adrian. "Couldn't have that," Elias says, like he's discussing the weather. "The rest was me." Lena understands. I had to see if you were his weakness, the key to finally cracking him. She asks, "And am I?" His answer, "Oh, absolutely." He then holds out his hand. "Now let's roll, we're burning daylight." Lena looks desperately at Mara, searching for the protector she knew. But Mara's face is a cold, professional mask. "How long?" Lena asks, her voice low. "How long were you his guy?" Mara replies, "Since before I even met you, Mr. Moretti, Adrian. He brought me on as just another staff member. He never suspected Elias had gotten to me first." Mara's voice is thick with actual regret. "I never meant to hurt you, Lena. But he's right. This was necessary." "Why? What does he want?" Elias's smile vanishes. "What I was always supposed to have. Adrian took everything when he threw me out. My position, my reputation, my entire future. So now, I'm taking something of his." Lena fires back, "I'm not his." You're everything to him. Elias's grip is like a steel trap on her arm. Which is why this plan is perfect. Now move. He hauls her towards the door. She fights, but he's way too strong. Mara follows them, looking completely torn up, but her silence is its own confession. They drag Lena down to the wine cellar, up a secret staircase, and into a dark, empty service hall. The mansion is creepily quiet. Elias just says, "This way," pulling her down the corridor. My brother's security is top-notch, but even they can't cover every blind spot when they're tearing the house apart to find you. Lena says, "Someone will see us." Elias grins. "I'm counting on it." He shoves open a door into the main hall. "I want Adrian to know I have you. I want him to feel this." They turn a corner and run right into Victor. The head of security takes in the whole scene instantly. Elias has Lena, Mara's backing him up, and Lena is terrified. His hand goes to his gun. "Let her go," Victor orders, his voice lethally calm. "I don't think so." Elias yanks Lena in front of him like a shield. "Tell my brother I have his wife. If he wants her alive, East Garden, alone, in 30 minutes. Victor warns. "He'll kill you?" Elias just shrugs. "He can try, but he won't risk her. She's his weak spot now. 30 minutes, Victor. Don't be late." He yanks Lena through another door and down some stairs. They hit the cold night air, stepping into a garden full of shadows and moonlight. "Why are you doing this?" Lena gasps as he drags her toward the fountain. "If you hate Adrian that much, just kill him. Why use me?" "Because his death isn't enough," Elias says, finally letting her go. "First, he has to suffer. I want him to know what it's like to have everything he loves ripped away." Lena insists, "I don't matter to him." Elias scoffs. "Then why is he burning down his own kingdom to find you?" He pulls out his phone. On the screen is a live feed. Adrian in the main hall, as Victor gives him the news. As the words land, you can see all the color drain from Adrian's face. "Look at that, Lena. That's not a man who doesn't care." Lena watches Adrian's face shift from disbelief to fury and then to something that looks like pure terror. He grabs Victor's collar, spits some words, then shoves him aside and storms out the door. Elias smiles. "He's on his way." "Perfectly on schedule," Elias says, satisfied. "Then what? You kill him in front of me?" "Maybe. Or I'll make him choose between his life and yours. I win either way." He puts his phone away. "For the record, I have nothing against you. You seem okay. But you married into this family, so now you're just collateral damage." "You can still stop this," Lena pleads. "Whatever happened between you two?" "He left me to die," Elias says, his voice turning to ice. 5 years ago, our enemies made a move. Adrian saved his own skin and let me take the fall. I spent 2 years in a hellhole prison while he built this kingdom on my back. So no, this doesn't stop. It ends tonight." A movement in the shadows catches their attention. Adrian appears, just as he was told, alone. He's dressed in black, and even from a distance, the tension coming off him is insane. "Let her go, Elias," Adrian calls out. Elias just says, "Hello, brother." Elias keeps a hand locked on Lena's shoulder. "Glad you could make it. I was starting to think you didn't care." Adrian snaps, "This is between us. Leave her out of it." Elias smirks. "She's the entire point. She is your weakness." His fingers dig into her shoulder to prove it. "I spent weeks looking for a way to break you. I went after your business, your allies, your name. Nothing worked. You were untouchable. But then I saw you'd made a massive, stupid mistake." "What?" Adrian demands. Elias drops the bomb. You fell in love with your wife. The words just hang there, and Adrian freezes solid. That's ridiculous, Adrian says. There's no force behind it. Is it? Then walk away, leave her with me, and go back to your fortress. Show me she means nothing. Elias grins. Or you can admit it and beg for her life. Adrian's jaw is tight. He locks eyes with Lena, and the raw pain she sees there is gut-wrenching. Please, Adrian says, his voice low. Let her go. Take me. Elias bursts out laughing. There it is. The great Adrian Moretti begging. Never thought I'd see the day. Adrian presses. You want revenge? Fine. I'm offering myself. Let Lena walk, and I'm all yours. Lena whispers. Adrian, no. But Elias covers her mouth. Tempting offer, Elias says. But I think I'll keep my leverage. Mara? Mara steps from the shadows, gun in hand. She looks like she's about to be sick, but she raises the pistol and aims it at Adrian. Don't! Lena tries to plead into his hand. Here's what's gonna happen, Elias announces. You're getting on your knees, brother. You will confess what you did 5 years ago, and then you'll beg for her life. Done! Adrian doesn't even hesitate, dropping to his knees on the wet ground. I left you. I chose myself. I've regretted it every single day since. Liar! Elias screams. It's the truth, Adrian says, his voice raw. You were my brother and I abandoned you. I'm so sorry, Elias. Sorry doesn't give me back 2 years of my life. Sorry doesn't erase what they did to me in that hole. Elias is trembling with rage. But watching you lose everything, that might just be a start. He pulls his hand from Lena's mouth, only to press the cold barrel of his own gun to her head. Lena's legs feel like jelly. A choice, Elias tells Adrian. She dies now, or you trade places, but a life gets taken tonight. Take me, Adrian says, starting to stand. Just let her go. But then Lena speaks, her voice surprisingly strong. No, not for me. I'm not worth this. Adrian's eyes lock on hers. You're worth everything. I'm sorry, Lena, for everything. Forcing this marriage, treating you like a piece of a deal, for never saying you became the only good part of my day. I'm sorry I couldn't protect you. Tears well up in Lena's eyes. Adrian. Then he says it, plain and simple. I love you. I never wanted to, but I do. So he drops this bombshell confession, and Elias just cracks up like, cute. The monster has feelings. He aims his piece, saying it means nothing, but bam. It means everything, a new voice says. It's Irina, back from the dead and covered in blood. And get this. Victor and a whole squad pop up behind her, guns locked on Elias and Mara. Drop it, Irina orders. Party's over? Elias is shook. You were supposed to be out cold. Woke up, she says, and tracked your phone. She closes in, gun steady. Let her go. You're toast. The whole scene just freezes. You can feel Elias glitching out, gun shaking against Lena's head. Adrian is across the yard ready to pounce. Then Mara flips, lowering her weapon. It's over, she says. Elias, just let her go. Elias just hisses, traitor. Mara's like, I signed up to mess with his head, not for a body count. But Maria's gone 'cause of you. Mara tells him he's lost it, that he's not the guy she backed. And that's the trigger. Elias's arm drops. The gun hits the floor. In a flash, Adrian is on him, yanking Lena to safety. Victor's crew swarms Elias, taking him down instantly. Adrian clutches Lena, his heart hammering like a drum solo. He's checking her over, freaking out. Are you hurt? Did he hurt you? I'm good. I'm okay. She looks right at him. You love me? Yeah, just told my entire security team, so kinda hard to take it back now. He touches her face like she's a ghost. I regret all of it. You were about to trade your life for mine. No hesitation, you're mine, Lena. I protect you, even from my own mess. Victor hauls Elias up. The brothers are spitting images, but Adrian's got controlled power. Elias just looks broken. I could have ended her, Elias says, his voice totally dead. Had the shot. But you didn't, Adrian's grip on Lena tightens. Because deep down, you're not a killer. You don't know me. You left me to rot. I know, and I'll regret that forever. Adrian steps closer to him, Lena in tow. But this ends now. No more revenge. No more family bloodshed. So, you're gonna off me now? No. Adrian signals Victor. Put him on a one-way flight somewhere remote. Give him a fat stack for a new life, and make it clear he can never come back. Elias is stunned. Why? Because you're still my brother. Because I owe you that. Adrian's voice is raw. And because I'm done losing people. Victor drags Elias off, with Mara getting escorted too. The garden clears out, leaving just Lena, Adrian, and Irina. I should have known, Irina says, totally drained. Should have seen Mara was the weak link. You kept Lena safe, that's all that matters. Adrian pulls Lena close. Go rest, we'll debrief tomorrow. Irina dips, leaving them under the moonlight. Lena just stares at her husband, this messed up dude who just offered to die for her. For real? You love me? For real, I love you, he says, and it sounds right. I fought it. You were a deal, a tool, but you just smashed through all my walls. Your grit, your attitude, how you refused to be invisible. He holds her face. You made me feel something other than a craving for control. I love you too, Lena whispers. I fought it too. You're a possessive jerk who literally bought me. Not my best look. But you're also brave and crazy protective, and you knelt to your enemy for me. She wraps her arms around his neck. So I guess we're both idiots. Looks that way. He leans in and kisses her, super soft, like she might break. When he pulls back, he's serious. Things are gonna change. No more treating you like an asset. No more running your life. You're my wife, my partner, my equal, if you still want that. I do. Lena's heart feels like it's gonna explode. But I need one more thing. Name it. My parents. I want to see them. For real, not some 15-minute supervised joke. Done. I'll bring them here tomorrow. They can stay as long as you want. He kisses her forehead. What else? The school. I want to go back. With way more security, but yeah. And I want you to tell me about your work. Not the gory details, but enough so I know what world I'm in. She locks eyes with him. No more secrets. That's a pretty risky request. I married Risk the night your goons showed up. I'd rather know the monster I'm facing than be protected by lies. Adrian thinks for a sec, then finally nods. Okay, I'll tell you everything, but not tonight. Tonight, he murmurs, I just want to hold you and know you're safe. He scoops her up and carries her inside. Lena rests her head on his shoulder, looking up at the stars. So what now? She asks. Now we figure out how to be actually married, build trust, make something real that isn't based on a contract. He looks down at her. Think we can do it? I think we have to. And the next few weeks were a total reset. Elias got shipped to Europe with a new identity and a stern warning. Mara got a similar deal. Her time in the Moretti crew was done. The whole security team got a massive upgrade, and Lena's parents moved into a guest house on the estate. Close, but not too close. Her dad cried his eyes out, apologizing nonstop until she made him stop. Their family was scarred, but they were finally starting to heal. Catherine's lessons flipped from survival mode to actual education. Lena was learning to navigate this world not as a victim, but as a queen. She started hitting functions, networking with the other mob wives, and building her own power base in his empire. School visits were back on, with Irina always lurking nearby. The kids loved her stories, especially the ones about clever girls saving themselves. And Adrian was evolving. The ice-cold boss was still there, hardwired into his DNA. But now you'd see flashes of warmth, real smiles, late-night talks, and him reaching for her hand just to hold it, not to own it. 3 months after the garden showdown, Lena was watching Adrian work. He'd been deep in some shady negotiation for an hour, but his eyes kept finding her, a small smile playing on his lips. "Almost done," he mouths, covering the phone. 5 minutes. "No rush." She chilled in a chair, totally at ease. When he hung up, he stood and pulled her up. "I got you something," he says. "If it's more bling, I'm throwing it at you." "It's not jewelry." He leads her to the desk and pulls out a folder. "It's your father's debt. The original deal with Volkov." Lena's breathing stops as she opens it and sees the actual papers. The very contract that wrecked her life. "I bought it from Dmitri last week," Adrian says. "Paid double what your dad owed, but money didn't matter." "Why?" "So I could do this." He takes the papers from her, walks to the fireplace, and chucks them in. They watch the contract burn to nothing. "You're free, Lena. The debt is gone. Our marriage isn't a business deal anymore." "Then what is it?" "This." He pulls a small box from his pocket, revealing a plain gold band. "No rocks, no flash, just a promise that I choose you every day, not because I have to, but because I want to." Lena looks from the simple ring to him. The guy who said she was nothing was now looking at her like she was everything. "Are you proposing? Again?" "I'm asking you to stay, to build a life with me, not as my property, but as my partner." His voice was dead serious. "I love you, Lena Ward. Will you stay?" The question was about freedom, not a command. The books were clear, the deal was ash. She could have bounced, gone back to a normal life, but normal was a cage she couldn't stand. "Yes," she whispered, "I'll stay." And when he slid this ring on her finger, it felt totally different. It was light, a promise, not a heavy chain. "Thank you," he murmured against her lips. "For what?" "For seeing the man, not just the monster." His voice cracked. "For making me want to be better." He kissed her deep, sealing a future that was never a sure thing. "For choosing me when you could have walked." Lena held him tight, her anchor in their perfect storm. Outside, the sunset was bleeding gold all over the massive grounds. In the distance, she could almost hear her parents' laughter on the wind, a weak echo from a life she nearly lost for good. This was no fairy tale. It was a savage, complicated reality, still sharp with fear, but it was, without a doubt, hers. They were piecing together a new world from the wreckage, one brutal truth after another. "I love you," she confessed. "I love you too," Adrian swore, clinging to her like she was the only thing holding him together. "I'll spend my entire life proving it." 6 months later. Lena looked in the mirror and didn't even recognize herself. The scared girl who signed her life away was long gone. What stood there now was a stone-cold survivor, forged in absolute chaos, who knew exactly how to play his twisted games. "Ready?" Adrian was at the door, decked out in a suit that screamed money. But it was his stare that floored her, a look that said she was his one and only lifeline. Ready. She took his arm. Tonight's mission: host a massive gala using his dark money to fund something clean. It was her grand design, powered by his terrifying influence. The city's top players would be there, and Lena wouldn't be hiding in his shadow. She'd be standing as his queen. As she walked down the stairs, she saw her parents waiting below. Her mother's smile was a godsend, her father's approval a victory he made her earn. Irina, the ever-present bodyguard, even let a tiny smile slip. Catherine even showed up, her sharp gaze already picking the entire room apart. Nervous? Adrian murmured. Terrified, Lena shot back. But the good kind of terrified. There's a good kind, he whispered. It's the kind that proves you have something to lose, she told him, squeezing his arm. The kind that means something is worth the war. He pulled her close and kissed her temple. Then I'm terrified 24/7. The doorbell rang and the show began. Victor opened the door to Vivian Castellano and her husband, then Lin Chen and a dozen other vipers in suits. Lena braced herself and stepped forward, Adrian a fortress at her side. This was her arena now, beautiful and lethal. But she was primed for it. She'd been sold, survived assassins, and stared into her own personal hell. She'd pulled off the impossible. She learned to love the monster who'd bought her, and somehow found the good buried deep inside him. Whatever came next, they'd handle it as a unit. Across the party, through all the fake laughs, she locked eyes with Adrian. He was talking to Marcus Chen, but his whole being was zeroed in on her. She gave him a tiny smile, and he sent one right back, a silent pact made across a room full of enemies. In that moment, Lena knew she'd bet on the right man. The contract that kicked this whole thing off was nothing but cinders. What was left was raw, messed up, and scarred, but it was real, and that was worth everything.